Let's go, people. We are back into the Megillah. I want to finish off the end of chapter 2. Shh. Phones away, books out. We're in chapter 2 at the end. We're going to see the assassination attempt of Achashverosh, and we're going to see how things changed in Shushan Habira based upon this. And all of this is going to be a prelude to the saving of the Jewish people during the Purim story. First of all, let's see what happened. What happened to Achashverosh? Who's trying to kill him? Why? How is he saved? So chapter 2, verse 21. Chapter 2, verse 21. Everyone got it? Okay, take notes. We're going to do a lot today. We're covering a lot of ground. I need you to be with me, my dear friends and sisters. So Mordechai is where? Where does Mordechai station himself at this part of the story? Outside the capital, the castle. That's right. It's a castle with a princess. Yes. He's outside Shushan Habira. He was allowed to be there because he was a very respected individual. That's who he was. He's sitting there. Why is he sitting outside? Why is he not inside? Because he wasn't powerful enough to enter inside. Okay, he's still some Jew. And yet he's allowed in the environs. And he sticks around outside because he wants to hear what's going to happen to his cousin/wife, whose name was? Esther. Hadassah, Esther. We're going to know her as Esther from now on. Okay? So Mordechai Yosef B'Shar Melech. And then he overhears a conversation of two individuals. And these people are called Bigtan and Teresh. Who were they? Who were these two people? So these were people who worked for Achashverosh, and they had a very menial job of cleaning out his room, and I don't have to go into it. They have to remove all of the waste which he produces and bring in water. And he'd been very busy, so they were very busy. They got sick of him, and they wanted to assassinate him. They wanted to kill him. And by the way, your worst enemy is the one who's close to you, right? You've got to be very careful. And they have access to his bedroom. So this is a real danger. They talk about the assassination attempt in earshot of Mordechai. And Mordechai overhears them. By the way, the chances, this is just another coincidence, but it happens to be that they discuss this within his earshot. How does he understand them? One second. So how does he understand them? He knows their language. Why would he know their language? Because there is a law in halakha, which happens to be what we're discussing in Sanhedrin, in the Gemara right now, which is every one of the Sanhedrin has to know 70 languages. So when a court case comes to the Sanhedrin, which Mordechai was in, although he gave up the position in order to stick outside the palace, in order to do that, can you close the door, please, Naomi? Thank you so much. In order to do that, you have to, so when a court case comes to you, you're able to understand what they're saying and not go through a translator, because things are lost in a court case in translation. So he knows that they didn't know that he knew that. They didn't know that he knows 70 languages. They didn't know he's a member of the Sanhedrin, of the great Jewish law. 70 or 70. There's 70 core nations, and he knew he was able to converse in all, or get a basic understanding of all of those 70 languages. There are 70 core nations that exist in the world at any given time. Nowadays we have 140, but those are break-offs from the Shivim, from the original 70, okay? So he overhears. So what is he going to do? What does he do with the information that these two guys are going to kill Achashverosh? He's going to tell Achashverosh. How does he get the information to Achashverosh? He gets it sent to Esther. And Esther relays it to Achashverosh. V'yivadad vala Mordechai v'yiged le'Esther malka toma Esther lamelech b'shem Mordechai. She tells, and this is very important, she tells Achashverosh, I heard from this Jew, she doesn't tell who he is, that there's an assassination attempt. She does it in the name of Mordechai. Why is that a big deal? How could she have done it? She could have said, yeah?
I just wanted to know how the information got to it, how he was able to get it.
Oh, we assume there's going to be messengers that are rushing between them. That's how he's standing outside. Messages. Actually, one of those messengers we're going to meet, his name is Daniel the prophet. That's not at this case, but maybe it is, but we're not told. Later on we're going to meet him. So they have messengers that he uses, and he's getting information via second-hand sources. So he sends information over there. Sorry, I didn't answer your question. I apologize.
Nothing. I was just asking about what Hasufa.
Okay, more.
Oh, because she's not supposed to know the languages.
So she's not supposed to know the languages, right? That's number one. And number two, the fact that Achashverosh is going to owe Mordechai a favor is going to turn the entire story around later on. From here we learn a very important principle of the Megillah and in Jewish life. And it is that Hashem always precedes the Makkah with the Refuah, which means before the hit comes, in this case, Haman trying to kill us, which he's going to do in a few moments, trying to kill us anyway, Hashem plants the seeds of redemption. He always, before Haman even turns up on the scene ready to kill us, Hashem already starts to put the saving in action. This is it. Achashverosh is going to go owe Mordechai a favor for giving up this assassination attempt, and this favor is going to come in handy quite a while later when we need Achashverosh to take the sides of the Jewish people. Okay, so that's going to be coming up later on. Yeah.
So basically, God's already planning the redemption.
Yes. Yeah, before we don't even know. The hit hasn't come yet. This is beyond human knowledge or ability. But that's the way Hashem runs the world. When it comes to the Jewish people, before the hit comes, before the makkah, before the attack, before the whatever it is, Hashem will always prepare things beforehand. Like he put Yosef in Egypt for many years before the Jewish people turned up in order to prepare the land for their entry. He's always putting the refuah before the makkah. Right now, we're being attacked, but the redemption was set up before. It always works that way. The makkah always comes after the refuah is already set up. By the other nations, it's not that way. The other nations, they get the makkah, and then Hashem formulates a refuah for them, a healing for them. With the Jewish people, he does it the other way around. So this is the refuah. Haman's not even powerful yet. We're going to see why he becomes powerful. He's not powerful. He's about to be. Before he even does, Hashem has planted the seeds of saving via Mordechai, giving up this assassination attempt. Got it? Okay. Yes.
Sorry, what is the transition of refuah?
The healing before the hit. Refuah is a healing. Right? Rufechol basar. Makkah is a smack, which Haman's about to try to give us. Good? Fabulous. Okay, so he does that. What do? They find these two guys. Mordechai is, by the way, we learn from this, a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says, any information you give over, this wasn't Torah, but especially Torah, you give someone else, you should always say, but Shem Amra, in the name of the person who said it. So if you hear a devout Torah from someone, you want to give it over, you should always say, I heard this from Rabbi XYZ or something. They say any information, you should always try to attribute to the original, if you know who the originator was, try to do it, and it brings Geula Leolam, it brings redemption to the world. That's what the Mishnah Pirkei Avot learns from this, by the way, this particular story, and brings down this case. Fine. So they do it, they hang these two guys on the 8th, and they write it down in front of the king. So they write down, Achashverosh owes Mordechai his life. That book is closed, and it's stuck away somewhere, not to be found for a long time. So bank that in your heads. Very good. Third perek, things are about to change. Achar hadvarim ha'ela. What does achar mean? Soon after or long time after? Soon after. Acharei is a long time, that's muflag. Achar means immediately later. Gidal hamelech Achashverosh. Now here we come to a code word in the Torah. And the code word is Hamelech. Hamelech means the king. The king. Now, if you open pretty much every Megillat Esther, every column of Megillat Esther, the first word on the right-hand side, the top word that begins every column is HaMelech. That's how most Megillat Esthers are written. With every you have loads of columns. You've seen a Megillah, right? It's column, 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 column. The first word is HaMelech. HaMelech refers to the king, but it also refers to Hashem, God. Because he's the Melech, Malchei HaMelachim. So, yeah. Well, no, actually it's not the first. It's actually the fifth word, but every column, because the way the columns are set up is that the word HaMelech always comes first. So you know that it says the king, but it's referring to Hashem is present in the entire story. That's the idea. Because God's name is not mentioned. Where is God mentioned? HaMelech. So whenever you see the word HaMelech, the king, it refers to Achashverosh, and it refers to Hashem. Because Hashem is encoded, because Hashem's name is not mentioned, but HaMelech is. So look how I can read this verse in two ways. After this, the king made Haman great. The king made Haman great. So there's two ways to read that. The king, Achashverosh, is going to make Haman great, give him a lot of power. And Hashem is the one who lifts up Haman. Hashem's plan is to lift up Haman and make him great at this time. So there's two ways to read HaMelech. Write that down. That's a good midterm question from Rabbi Haji. HaMelech refers to and or Hashem. Very good. So now we see Hashem using the king, Gidel HaMelech Hashverosh et Haman. I can't hear you. Wow. All right. Ben Hamdata, and he's given another name. The son of Hamdata, the Agagi. Agagi. That's who he is. What does that mean? Who is Agagi? Why is Haman given this extra name of the Agagite? Who was Agag? Sarah.
Does that relate to Gog and Magog?
Okay, that's interesting. That's very, very interesting. Wasn't what I was thinking of, but it could well be connected because Gog and Magog will be a battle with Amalek. So hold on to your Agag. When we talk about Mashiach, which we will in relation to the Purim story, but there was a person called Agag. Who was Agag? Nope. Agag was a king. He was a king who lived many years before, and he was king of a nation called Amalek. And this was in the days of Saul, King Shaul. King Shaul had a problem with Amalek. And the king of Amalek in those days was called Agag. So Saul had to deal with him and kill him and all of Amalek. He let him live one extra night. He was able to procreate that one night, and then the next day, King Saul came along, and the prophet came to tell off Saul, why didn't you kill Agag and all of Amalek? And he said, I don't know, I just left another night. He said, you go kill him and you'll lose the kingship. Because of that event with King Saul and Melech Agag, but he let him live for one more day before he killed him the next day. He lost his kingship, and the kingship moved from Shevet, from the tribe of Benjamin, to the tribe of Yehuda. So follow carefully. Mordechai is from the tribe of Benjamin. He's a direct descendant of Shaul. Haman, we're now being told, is Agagi, a direct descendant of Agag, Melech Amalek, which means, obviously, that Haman is Amalek. Now, Amalek we're going to talk about because they are the worst nation in Jewish history. There is no one worse than Amalek. No one worse. I'm not going to get into them too deep now. We're going to do like half a class just discussing this nation, who they are, how they operate. But take it from me for now, that all they want to do, and they will spend time and money and resources just to kill Jews. Other nations don't like us because they want our money, or they're jealous, they want our property, they want our land. That does not make them into Amalek. Amalek is one trait, and that trait is kill Jews, as many as possible, even though it doesn't make sense, because I'm losing money and time and people doing it. When the Jewish people left Egypt, the first nation to attack us was Amalek. They are bad news. And actually, Mashiach's job at the end of days is to wipe out Amalek totally. They are the worst. More about them later on, yeah.
So I'm just confused because I remember specifics. Maybe it was the wrong name, but like Agag, right? Didn't have that have something to do with like something was cut off?
No, not his finger. That's someone else.
Who am I thinking?
That is, they cut his thumbs off.
Yeah.
It's not Agag. I'll come back to me. I'll come back to me. So it's a different story. It's a different king who was very bad at the Jewish people. He was not Amalek. Amalek, a very unique nation. I will just tell you, Amalek has the same numerical value as Safek. As Safek. Doubt. They sow seeds of doubt into the Jewish people and into the world. Doubt about what? God's existence. Same numerical value of 240. I remember that because that was a number bus I used to take to yeshiva every day, and I was like, oh God, here comes Amalek again, take me to yeshiva. I wasn't a great student. Yes, L. Sarah, sorry.
Is Hamas related to Amalek?
Any nation that wants to wipe out the Jewish people for no good reason, not for land, or anything, that is a seed of Amalek. Now there is no nation Amalek. They are individuals who are spread out through the entire world. The Nazis, everyone accepts, have traits of Amalek. They're fighting wars on all fronts, spending all their time, money, and they still have patience and desire to kill Jewish people for no good reason whatsoever. That's Amalek. That's Amalek. Hamas, there are individuals in Hamas, I'm sure, who are. There are people in America, in Manhattan, in France, Russia. Anytime you see people who hate us so much that they want us just dead because they despise us, that is the trait of Amalek. That is Amalek. I have a lot more to say on this. I'm going to get to another time. Yeah.
So wouldn't like Hamas not count as much because it's like kind of about land?
Yeah, probably. However, the modern rabbis say anytime people come to attack us, to kill us, we treat them like Amalek, and you can go and kill them first. Yeah.
So wait, according to halacha, like these people on the streets who are anti-us, like you'd be allowed to kill?
No, not just anti-us. If they try to kill us, go out of the way to hurt us, right, and to plan our downfall, you can go get them first. Yeah, that's how we treat everyone who tries to kill us. No, not if they just speak out against us.
They just want to hurt us.
They just want to hurt us, yeah.
Like, what if they want to like take a stick and like beat us, but not kill us?
At what point does a beating turn into murder? I know people who get one bang on the head and die. Yeah.
Why? Well, I mean, we're not supposed to know why God does the things that He does. But
Yeah.
is it ever explained why He chose Amalek to be the nation that was?
Oh, he didn't choose them. They chose themselves. They volunteered for that position. By the way, the Rambam says the mitzvah to wipe out Amalek only applies to those Amalekites who want to hurt us. If they decide not to, they have free will. They decide not to, but it's very difficult. Their nature is to want to hurt us.
But
They are the
God
Satan.
created them.
Remember? Yeah, he did. Yeah, Hashem creates and allows people to have various functions in this world. Yeah, absolutely.
Know that they're going to do what they're going to do. So
Well, Hashem knows everything. It's like that's not a contradiction. Yeah, but they are able to change their ways if they want to. That's possible. They're still given free will in this world. Okay, but we see that Haman was not such a person. Very good. Now, Haman. The reason why Haman was elevated, because he said to Achashverosh that from now on the law has to change. People are trying to kill you, and remember, Achashverosh used to go for advice to advisors. Now you don't see him do that again. And he creates an iron wall, not literally, but around him. Does anyone know what law changes that Esther is going to come up against a little bit later? He changes a law in in Persia. I'm still thinking about the parasha. In Persia, that things change. What does he change? If you want to see Achashverosh, what do you have to do? For how long? 30. 30 days! In order to meet with a king, after this story, this was Haman's idea. After this story, he's like, that's it, I'm done. You want to see me? 30 days. The CIA have to do a background check. Even Esther, his wife, cannot see him without, because she's also a potential person. Everyone is a potential assassin at this point. He's become a maniac, paranoid maniac, narcissist. He's like, 30 days to see me, no matter who you are. If you walk in without 30 days permission, what happens? The only way you survive is he holds out his golden scepter, you touch it, you're saved. Right? That's what Esther is going to have to go through later, because she does not have 30 days permission. We'll see why later on. That's the reason she does not want to go and see Achashverosh to save the Jewish people. It's one reason, yeah.
If even Esther was like suspicious, then how did he trust Haman also?
Oh, Haman is in his inner circle. We're going to see, I don't want to give it away, but I'll mention it now. Mordechai and Esther's plan is feeding into this paranoia. This assassination attempt actually started to put paranoia into him. Every dictator, that's why they have body doubles. So Mordechai and Esther's plan, which you don't see in the Megillah, I'm going to show you later on, is all about stoking this paranoia inside her. Yeah.
I don't get why he trusts Haman more than Esther. It's not like Esther's able to leave.
Because, okay, that's a good question. We don't know at this point. At this point, she's still a new wife. She's still a wife, still a woman. She's considered lower down. She's Tachat Vashti. No, not yet. She's going to, though. She has a plan. Or not yet. She's going to have a crazy plan to save the Jewish people. It's literally insane what she decides to do. It's coming. It's coming. But Haman, he's an advisor. He's giving him good advice. He gave him advice about the wives. Remember that? He's giving him advice right now. And he's literally built, but in the end, it's all min Hashemayim. Hashem gidelet Haman. It was Hashem who actually lifted up Haman, right? Yeah.
Two questions. First one is I missed how, or the specific reason why Haman gets elevated.
Two reasons. One, he gave good advice to Achashverosh. And two, Hashem decides it's time for him to go up. Because the bigger he is, the harder he's going to fall. Had Haman been taken and been killed right now, I wouldn't have done anything. But if he rises up to the high position that he's about to get, yeah, then it's going to mean a lot more when he has his downfall. So that's coming. That's what they say, yeah.
Why did Hashem lift up Haman? Was this like a punishment for something?
No, that was it. He lifted up Haman, so the bigger he is, it makes a bigger Kiddush Hashem. And it's going to be a bigger victory for the Jewish people.
Wouldn't it also be like more deaths and like...
Potentially, yeah. Potentially bad. It works out good in this case. Which is why Purim's a holiday. Yeah. Okay, we're going to get there. Okay, fine. So what does he do? So Haman is now being elevated, and he's really high up, and there is a law that is now put into play that everyone has to korim umishtachavim lahaman. Korim umishtachavim. Those two words are important. Highlight them in your Megillot, please. Korim umishtachavim. Do they sound familiar? Korim va'anachnu korim umishtachavim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God. These basically is words of worship. Korim means to bow. Mishtachavim means to prostrate. They used to worship in the temple in Jerusalem, by the way, and elsewhere. They're our God, big G, and their small God, small g, by lying down. That's what we don't do that nowadays because we don't have a temple. It's asur to do it. Right? We do like a little bit, bend our knees, bend down a little bit. On Yom Kippur, we go down on our knees for an instant, but not much, not more than that. Yeah? It used to be that people used to bow down. So that means that Haman now was beginning to see himself like a god. And this is very common. You see right through history, to the present day, dictators and great people. Paro starts off like a regular leader. And then what does he do? He says, I'm a god. That's why he goes to Nile in the morning to use as a bathroom. Because gods don't make. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu used to meet with Pharaoh in the morning at the Nile. That's the time I went to speak to him. That's where the interaction between them, as if to say, I know what you're doing in there. You're not fooling me. I know you're not a god, because gods don't make in the bathroom. So that was actually part of what he did. To this day, you see dictators, they start off with power, they get more power, more, and then they say, oh, we're gods. You have to worship us. We do miracles. Like, North Korea. Right? Same thing. They start off like low and they build it up. And now you got to bow down to my statue, which, by the way, is the law in North Korea. Every time you pass it, every house has to have a picture, and you have to bow down to it. It's the same thing. History repeats itself. That's what Haman is doing. Haman is saying, now I'm a god. He's rich and he's powerful, second only to Achashverosh. Kiken tzivla melech. That was a royal command that everyone has to bow down. Or Mordechai, verse 2, lo yichra, he isn't bowing down, v'lo mishtachveh, and he's definitely not prostrating. He's like, are you crazy? I'm not going to do it. Everybody else does. One opinion is that he made himself into a god. Another opinion, he used to wear a god, an idol on a chain around his neck. If they were bowing down to him, they would bow down to the idol. But the Jewish people were permitted to, just like you would show respect to a person, but Mordechai says absolutely not. I'm not doing it. He's instigating him on purpose by not doing it. Yeah.
So isn't Ahasuerus paranoid about his power? So why would he
Not yet.
Haman?
Not yet. Because Hashem decided, but he's going to be. It's coming. Hold on. So far, he thinks he's got himself a good advisor, which he did. But hold on. He's going to be. And they all said, wait a minute, why isn't Mordechai bowing down? It got back to Haman, and Haman goes crazy. Look at the verse over here, verse 5. V'yar Haman, ki ein Mordechai kore mishtachavim lo, v'yemaleh Haman chema. Chema means heat. He gets very hot and bothered. He loses his temper, okay? And he gets very, very angry. So what's he going to do? How's he going to react to this one Jew who didn't turn up at the party and is not even showing him respect by bowing down to him? What's he going to do with him? He's going to ask him to be killed. But first of all, he starts with him. Look at, there's 3 phases here. There's 3 phases. There's Mordechai. There's Mordechai. And then there is Yisrael. He starts off by saying, if you look inside, Lishloch yad b'Mordechai, levado. I'm going to kill Mordechai for doing this. Then he thinks, wow, that's a little bit weak, isn't it? Let me get the Mordechai. Higiru lol et ya'am Mordechai. Who are the Mordechai? The rabbis. He's like, I'm going to kill Mordechai, but that's like beneath me. I'm going to kill all of the rabbis. And then he says, oh, no. He's like, no. I'm going to kill all the Yehudim, all of Am Yisrael, the Yehudim. That's how he refers to them. So it starts off with just Mordechai, and he's like, nah, all the rabbis, that's not enough for me. I want every single Jew in all 127 provinces to die for what Mordechai did. Mordechai has instigated a massive threat against every single Jewish person. Can you imagine that? Everyone has found out, or they're about to find out, that Haman wants to kill every Jew because Mordechai wouldn't bow down. Can you imagine the reaction towards Mordechai? I'm sure they'll be like, what? Just bow down to him. You're the source of the problem. Mordechai don't care. Yeah.
I don't get it. Why would Haman all of a sudden? I know we see this today. Like a Jew does one bad thing and they hate all Jews.
Yeah.
I don't get it. How do people take a group of people and associate them all from one individual?
Great question. Great question. The root of anti-Semitism. They hate one Jew does something bad to them or says something bad to them, hate every single Jew. There's many ways to understand this. The main answer from our perspective, Sarah, is we are ish echad b'lev echad. We are one people. We're going to see that. When we are unified, we become one. It's like saying, you hit me with your hand, I'm going to hurt your hand. No. The entire body is in trouble now. You know what I'm saying? They see us as a unified being. We see ourselves as different people. But actually, we're one being. This is the way it should be. Haman is right. If you want to get Mordechai, get all the Jews. We are one-ish. We're like one body. That's what I'm saying. The other perspective is that he is Amalek. And Amalek wants every single Jew dead. It's in his nature. He can't get rid of it. Yeah.
What was the progression of Haman going from just
Kill Mordechai. Oh, we're not told.
no, like how like meaning it was like in a speed of a second?
Immediate. Within, I don't know, hours, days, weeks, very soon. Mordechai, then it's Mordechai, and then it's Yehudim.
He didn't put out 3 separate
No,
things, like,
no. He did not put it. He's like, this is his thought process, and we see how he moves along in his thought process. There was no decree for each one. Good point. Okay, so he decides that he's going to, and this is a key word for our semester, he's going to hold a
Party.
Haman is going to do a pour, a lottery. He's going to do a lottery to figure out the right time to kill the Jewish people. The word pour is short for Purim, okay? Purim is pour. It means a lottery. What is a lottery, by the way? Also known as a goral. What is that? There's various ways you can do a lottery. You could do little ping pong balls out of a thing to win the lottery, right? There's ways to do it, but what do they all have in common?
I don't know that, but I think the lottery, even though it seems at random, it's actually from God.
Okay, so one aspect is it's all min hashamayim, that we're going to see in a second. But why did he choose it? Why did he choose that methodology? Why didn't he just choose a date? So Amalek has a trait, and that is it's all luck. They are the world's greatest atheists. It's all luck. And I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to use a luck chance. Every lottery, whether roulette wheel or national lottery, whatever it is, it's all about chance and luck. Yeah? That's who he is. He's Mr. Chance. He's Mr. Luck. So he says, I'm going to do a lottery. What did he actually do? Does anyone know what he actually used in order to find out the date to kill all the Jewish people, which is he's about to do? Very good. He rolled dice. How many dice, Sarah Arnstein?
2.
3. Nice try. 3 dice. And he rolled them, and he went through in his mind every date in the calendar, every date, to figure out the best time. And he goes through every single day, and he goes through one day and another day. He ended up that in nearly a year's time, on the 13th day of Adar, as that date came up, he rolled the dice, and the dice showed 3 numbers. 3 numbers. 1, 3, 3. Those are the numbers that came up, say the rabbis, on the dice. 3 dice. 1, 3, 3. He's like, oh, that's good. That's good. Because that's Hebrew. And in Hebrew, that spells 1, 3, 3 is Agag. Aleph, Gimel, Gimel. He's like, that's it. It must be this is the right time that I'm going to choose to kill the Jewish people. Added to that, the month of Adar, he said, is a good time to kill the Jewish people because someone very great died in Adar. Who was that? Who died in the month of Adar? 7th of Adar? Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu died on 7th. He's like, but what he didn't know was that Moshe Rabbeinu also was born in Adar on the same day. He died. He was born and died on the same day with a 120-year difference between them. So it was actually a very good time for the Jewish people too. All right? And Moshe Rabbeinu died at 120. He had a good full life. I want to point out something else about these 3 letters. What's on the reverse side of every die? Every one of the dice. What's on the reverse side? What do they add up to? 7. 7. 6 is opposed by 1. 5 is opposed by 2. And 4 is opposed by 3. Every dice to this day, both sides. It took a lot of backgammon playing in my house for me to know my dice very, very well. All right? A lot of sheshbesh. Both sides of the dice add up to 7. What's on the reverse then of 1, 3, 3?
5 and 3.
It is going to be 6. Yeah. 4. 4. Right? Is that right? Yeah. What does that come to? Who's Mr. 644? Let's figure it out. Dalet. David. So David HaMelech says, you put, that's what I say. You, Haman, you fool. You're trying to kill the Jewish people with your Agag dice roll. We have the Nahafachu. It's all going to turn around, and King David's descendants are going to win over eventually. So David, our David, beats your Agag. It's cool, right? That's how it all flips around. The Nahafachu. Hashem turns over the dice, as it were, and says, don't worry, David and his people are going to win this ultimate battle against Amalek. And actually the descendant of David, which is Mashiach, his job is to wipe it out. So that's exactly what he does. He chooses that date, right, to do this, and he makes a pour, Lifnei Haman, Miyom Lechomer Chodesh, every single day he goes through it until he ends up with the 12th month. The 12th month is Adar. Now I didn't mention to you, I don't remember if I did, but this is the first time we see in Jewish history that the months are called by their names. Did I mention that already to you? Up to now, in the Torah, it's always by number. Month 1 is Nisan. Month 2 is Iyar. Always by number. This is the first time since we're in Bavel that names are given to the months, like January, February, March, April. This is their version. So Nisan, Iyar, 7 Tammuz are not Hebrew, really. Right? They're Persian or Babylonian names that were taken, and that's why every time a month is mentioned, they always mention the number, because some people only knew the number, and the name, because some people only knew the name. So it says, the 12th month, that's Adar. I know you guys living in Persia, you may not know the numbers of the months, but you know the names. You know the names. And the names, by the way, have significance even in Hebrew. What does Adar mean? What's Adar? What's Aleph? One is Hashem. One is Hashem. What's Dar? To live, like a dira is an apartment. Dar is to live. The Aleph Dar, God lives in this month. It's a good month. Adar always is a good month for the Jewish people. The mazal of the Jewish people were marba b'simcha, and the mazal of Adar is strong. Is strong. By the way, what is the astrological sign of Adar? Is fish. That's right. It's my wife's birth month. But what kind of fish is it? Well, not one. We don't know the kind of fish, but it's how many fish? 2. And they are going in different directions. Right? It's the mazal of dag, of fish. Fish are good creatures. They increase. They bring blessing. But they're going 2 different ways. As if to say, they come to hurt us, and we have the ability through the month of Adar to reverse course and make things go better for us. So it's 2 fish in 2 opposite directions. That's Adar, that's Aleph Dar. God resides in this month. And it's a month of great mazal and simcha for the Jewish people, and always was. That's the nature of time. That and makes sense, the last month of the calendar, right? Before Nisan appears. So we always end on a good note. The year always ends with a good note of Adar. That is the power of Adar, and fish always represents plentifulness and blessing. Yeah.
So how is 644 David?
Dalid Vav Dalid. 644. Yeah. 644. Okay. So now Haman, yes.
What does Adar mean, you said?
Aleph Dar. Aleph is God, 1. Dar lives in this month. Okay. So now Haman can't just start killing Jews. Can't get his machine gun out, right? Because he's not the boss. Who's the boss? Achashverosh. So he has to persuade him. So now the story is Haman's persuading Achashverosh to let him kill the Jews. And look what happens. So Haman is going to use Lashon Hara, that's so Amalek, right? To talk Achashverosh into letting us be killed. And by the way, it's an easier argument than you would give him credit for. For Yom Haman, look at verse 8. Lemelech Achashverosh. Yesh no am echad. What is yesh no? What's yesh? How do you say there is a nation? Yesh. Yesham. What's yesh no? So the rabbis, the Gemara say, he's hinting here. The word yesh no sounds like Yashen. What's Yashen? They're sleeping. There's a sleeping giant. Don't be threatened by them. They're asleep. They're asleep in their avodat Hashem. They're asleep. They have no merits. They're asleep. Don't worry. You deal with a sleeping giant. Don't worry about it. Yeshno. He's talking smack about us. I don't like that. Don't be dissing my peeps. Yeshno am echad. They are one am. He admits it. But they are mefuzar umufurad. Spread out among the nations. Oh. That's not just a geographical statement. That is a statement of they are not unified. Because our strength comes in our unity. He's like, don't worry. They're over there, they're over there. They can't attack you. They're all spread out. But also, do not worry because they're not unified. When they're not unified, even if they're far away from each other, they're asleep. They're not unified. Don't worry about it. And their minhagim are very different. They're not like us. This is what every anti-Semitism. This is real anti-Semitism. They don't eat like us. They don't talk like us. They don't dress like us. They're different. Don't they always say that, the anti-Semites? The Jews, they're different from us. They're different. Shonot. Mikol am. They don't even follow our laws. They have this thing called halacha, and they pray, and they eat only certain foods. They're not a threat to you. Remember, Achashverosh is always scared of threats. He's like, they can't get an army against you. They're all spread out. They're asleep. Right? They're disconnected. They're not even like us. Why would them being like us help? Because if they were like us, maybe other people will come to fight for them. No one cares about them. It's like today. Every nation stands against us. We barely get any support from anyone. Why? We're different. Those Jews, they're different. Let them die. No one's going to come and rescue them. Don't worry about them. It makes no sense to you to let them live. Does he name the nation he's talking about? He doesn't. Why don't you think he specifically said? He probably did say, but why doesn't it say in the Megillah, by the way, it's the Jews? He refers to them as just some nation. Because later on, when the Megillah was written down, Mordechai and Esther, and Achashverosh is presented with his art scroll copy of the Megillah, it's embarrassing that he was willing to let the Jewish people die. So it's left anonymous. Anonymous nation. We know who it is. We know who it is. And he knows for sure. Yeah.
So all this now when we're talking about a sleeping nation that's not unified, that's the Jewish people?
Yes. He's talking smack about us. Just let him die.
This is Haman talking.
This is Haman talking to persuading Achashverosh to let him kill the Jewish people. That's what he's trying to do over here. And he says, Imal Malach Tov, Yikatev, write down that they're going to be wiped out. And he offers him 10,000 silver talents, which is like millions of dollars worth of silver to let him do it. Because Haman was, yes. He's like, it's going to cost time and money to collect them. You can have messengers. You can have warriors. I understand. Don't even let the money get in the way. I'll cover the bill, says Haman. Right? He's like a Nazi. I'll cover the bill of the trains and the people running to go get them and schlep them in to the concentration camps. I'll take care of it. Not only are they going to attack you, I know you're thinking, it's going to cost me a lot of money. I've got it covered. Does Achashverosh take the money? Nope. And here the Gemara says, and learns from this piece of the story, that Achashverosh probably hated the Jews even more than Haman. But his hatred was silent. It was behind the scenes. And the analogy the rabbis give is a man who has a field with dirt in it. And his neighbor says, oh, can I take your mounds of dirt? Because I have holes in my field. I'll pay you for your dirt. He says, pay me for my dirt? You do me a favor. Take as much as you want. In this case, Achashverosh is the man with the mounds of dirt. Haman says, let me take the dirt, I'll pay you for it. Achashverosh is like, you don't have to pay me. Go fill your hole, do whatever you want. He gives him full permission to go do it. Haman hates the Jewish people overtly. Achashverosh hates them behind the scenes. You have your anti-Semite who says, kill Jews. Another one who, behind the scenes, funds it or pass them over promotion. You know what I'm saying? Or like, gives them bad press. By the way, the latter, Achashverosh, is probably more seditious. Right? Because at least with Haman Nazis, you know what they want. They say, we want to kill you. Achashverosh is more subtle. He's wearing a suit. Not so easy to tell that he hates Jews, especially not from the story. Yeah.
This is like a bit off topic, but I always just wondered, like, how did Esther get away with not saying who she was? Like, I can imagine that if Ahasuerus asked her, like, how could she refuse?
He loved her. He tried. He loved her, and he was willing to let it slide. She's going to have to tell him soon. She's going to tell him soon. And she's also going to give herself up to him voluntarily on one occasion. One occasion she's going to do it. Up to now, she's been violated. She is now going to, well, we're going to see what's happened over here. He didn't want to hurt. He actually loved her. He loved her. He stayed married to her after the Megillah story. He loved her very, very much. He didn't want to hurt her. He was in love with her, you know? But this intrigue kept niggling away at him.
How could he love a Jew
He didn't know she was Jewish.
even when he found out?
That's why it doesn't seem so bad. There's no mention of Jews over here. He left it out of the story. They left it out of the story. Okay. So he offers him 10,000, a vast amount of money, which they say actually comes to the same amount of half a shekel for every Jewish person who used to give. It would add up to 10,000 in the Mishkan. It used to give half a shekel every person. They make a certain calculation, different opinions how it's done. This amount was not a random amount. He understood that the Jewish people used to give half a shekel. They couldn't do it anymore. So he says, fine, I'll take your half a shekel and I see you 10,000 talents of silver. I'm going to use it to kill them. Okay. So they did it. Look what he does. Look at verse 10. Look what Haman does. It's very subtle. If you blink, you miss it. V'yasar melech et tabato mi'aledo. He takes off his ring, his tabat. Achashverosh's response to Haman's request is, take my ring. What kind of response is that? What are they doing? Getting married? I'm being serious. Are they getting married?
No.
Why does a man give a wife a ring when they get married? What does giving a ring represent? It's going to represent it for marriage and represent it for Haman, not royalty, power. Why would a ring represent transferal of power? What were rings used for?
To seal envelopes.
Seal, they're signet rings. You see, when you have a ring, it has a stamp on it. They would put wax onto an envelope or a decree. You know, there's little like blobs at the bottom. Now they don't do that, but now you have like a picture of it, bottom of your certificate, and they put the stamp on it. It is the seal of the king. He's basically saying, take my ring, you can do whatever you want. He's giving him absolute power. He's giving him the signature of the king to do whatever he wants. That's really, really bad. This is going to turn the Jewish people into guacamole. They said more people did teshuvah from this one ring movement than every single prophet in Jewish history who spoke to the Jewish people. This had more to... Yeah. This one act of Achashverosh giving the power ring to Haman did more to frighten the Jewish people to do teshuvah than every statement of every prophet that ever lived up to that point. It completely freaked them out. They were terrified because they knew that a decree was sent out. And the decree was that, I'm just jumping, but you get the idea, that on the 13th day of Adar, 13th day of Adar. Now, what month are we in right now where this is being written? We're currently in Nisan. So we have just under a year. So we have a good amount of time that on the 30th day of Adar, everyone can attack any Jew wherever they're living, and they're not going to be punished for it, and they can take all their stuff. Big motivator. Big motivator. So now they're really, really freaking out. And not just that. Go to the bottom of, verse 13. V'rishloch sfarim b'yad harasim. They sent out books in the hands of the runners to all the Medidat HaMelech, to everyone, lashmid, laharog, or labed. By the way, what's the difference? Lashmid, wipe out. Laharog is to kill. Labed is to totally lose. There'd be no trace of Jewish people. This decree wasn't like, okay, let a few live. There's no trace. You wouldn't even know the Jewish people existed after this event. It's a complete loss. At Kol Yudim, children, old people, babies, women, on one day, the 13th day of the 12th month of Adar, Ushlalam Lavoz, and to take all their stuff. Like they didn't need enough motivation to kill Jews. If there's money, it's like the Poles, you know? After the Holocaust, many Jews from Poland went back to Poland, went to the homes and said, excuse me, this is my house. And do you know what many of the Polish people did? They just killed them. They weren't Nazis, but they killed them. There are many, many stories of Jewish people who survived the Nazis, just went back to their homes, and the Polish neighbors had taken them, and the Polish neighbors just killed them.
How could they just kill them?
Because,
Like they were all murderers?
yeah, many of them were. Not all of them, but many of them were. Right? Because when it comes to, I wouldn't kill them normally, but I got your money now, I got your house, and that's what they did. You should look that up, by the way. There were entire cases. I think they made a movie about it. So he did this, he sends it out, and he says, you can have money, you can keep any money you find, and they sent him out. Look at the last 3 words of chapter 3. Va'ir Shushan, and the city of Shushan, Novocha, were bewildered. They couldn't believe it. This is referring to the Jewish people. Doesn't name them. Can't name the Jewish people. It says, so the city of Shushan is a code word for the Jewish people in Shushan who found out about this, the first. They were like, OMG, we're in trouble. We are in big, big trouble. They were bewildered. They couldn't believe it came to this. It's like the Jews in Nazi Germany. I keep coming to that example. We fought in the wars. We took care of your people. We've been here for decades. Why are you trying to kill us now? Do you know what we've done for Germany? We fought the First World War. It's the same thing. They couldn't believe it. Yes, Sarah?
Were all the Jews in all the provinces?
Yes. The Jews were spread out. We don't know where precisely, but they were spread out. But the majority were in Shushan. Right? Because they'd been taken from Israel to Babylon to Shushan. Okay. And some say that a non-Jew would see a Jew on the street and said, in less than 1 year, I'm going to kill you and I'm going to take your stuff. And they would mock them. So now they're not getting on with their neighbors. Right? This worked. It was a very clever plan. Amalek, by the way, not a bunch of hooligans. They're very, very smart. They know their stuff. Somebody had their hand up a second ago? Okay. Chapter 4, let's keep going. Mordechai yadat kol asher naseh. Mordechai hears about it. Now, we've mentioned already there are a few references to clothing in the Megillah. This is one of them. This is another one of them. Vayikra Mordechai et begadav. He rips his clothes. What is ripping clothes a sign of? Mourning, death and mourning. V'yilbash sak ve'efer. He puts on, sak is sack. Sack comes from sak. Efer is dust. What is that a symbol of? Mourning. It's a symbol of mourning. Putting dust. We don't really do this nowadays.
What is sackcloth?
Sackcloth. It's just basically a very basic clothing material. It's rough, it's uncomfortable. And when people used to mourn, they used to wear it. And they would take a little bit of dirt and dust and they would put it on the person's head. Actually, there is a minhag to this very day. Does anyone know when this is done? To this very day? We don't do that. Oh, we eat, right, we eat some ashes. That is true. That is true. They get it from us. They get it from us. Very good. But where do the Jewish people, I don't care about them, where do the Jewish people use it? You're not going to see this, but your husbands will. The custom is to put a little bit of ash on the head of the Khatan to remember the Khorban before he walks down to the Chuppah. The rabbi or someone else in the family takes a little bit of ash and he puts it on the head. Before I got married, Rosh Hashiva took a little bit of ash and he put it on my head before I walked down to the chuppah. That is the custom to this very, very day. It's a sign of mourning. And we break the glass as well. Because Mordechai is now going to do a public show of mourning. Imagine the greatest rabbi in the world puts on the clothes of mourning, this rough sackcloth, takes off his fancy suit, covers himself in dust, and starts crying on the floor. What's everyone going to be doing? What the heck is going on? Right? Something big and bad is about to happen. And he's also sending a sign to Esther. Okay, so now the plan to save the Jewish people is about to kick in. And the plan is a great one. He went to the middle of the city. He's not sitting at home by himself. He goes out. And he lets out a big cry to Hashem. What does that remind you of? You should be able to pick up on this. He goes out and lets out a zaka gedola umara, a very loud cry. This cry comes to combat somebody else's cry many, many, many years before. Who cried very loudly in the Torah when they got some news? A very bad person. Not Yishmael. Esav, very good. When the birthright was taken from Yaakov to Esav, Esav started to cry. He's like, what about me, Abba? Give me a bracha. Right? He sold it. Give me a bracha. So Esav cries out loud. This cry was a good prayer. Crying to Hashem, that's pretty big. That cry had to be combated. Remember that Haman is a descendant of Esav. Right? Because Esav had a son or grandson called Eliphaz, and Amalek comes from him. So he's trying to combat that original cry of Esav that he let out in front of his father, Yitzchak. That's why he cried out loudly. And to tell people, guys, we're in big trouble. I have some big, big news for you. Okay? And he also, since he's dressed this way, he cannot come close to the palace anymore. Right? You couldn't enter the king's gate wearing this. It's a disgrace. You can't walk around clothed like that. So he has to sit outside. Now he's not allowed inside, he's now outside. He's isolated outside the palace. And everyone hears about this, and what do? They start to pray and fast. Many, many of the Jews they realize this must be bad. This must be really, if Mordechai is out there mourning and crying, what's going on? We're not too sure, but we start joining in with him until the information actually got out. Okay? Now then, yeah.
Like the Jewish people to repent, why don't the rabbis of the time, why don't they show their emotions more?
He does, he's showing his emotions. In general. Would that work, you think, nowadays? If a bunch of rabbis go on the floor and start crying nowadays? I hope so. I'm not even sure. People are like, another crazy rabbi doing his thing. I mean, right now there's rabbis crying all over Israel for the past year and a half. How many Jews are invested in that crying?
Well, now people are a little bit desensitized.
Yeah, they are desensitized. They were desensitized then as well. But it started to get through. But he's actually now going to get through to Esther. Okay? So, Esther hears about this. She knows. Look at verse 4. Look what happens to her. Something very sad, actually. V'tavona narot Esther v'saraseh v'yagid la v'tischalchal. V'tischalchal, you know what that word means? I don't know either. Chalal, what's a chalal? It's an empty void. We say nekavim, chalum, chalum. Nekavim are outside external orifices, and chalalim are internal orifices, tubes, veins, pipes. One opinion is when she found out that Mordechai was doing this, her bowels opened up and everything came out. Right? She got very sick. But the accepted opinion is that she had a miscarriage. She had actually become pregnant at this point from Achashverosh, and she had a miscarriage when she found out about it. She was so distraught at the thought of Mordechai outside doing what he's doing, she knew and she freaked out and she had a miscarriage. Vatit chalchal, it says. Hamalka ma'od. And what does she do? She's like, I've got to find out. We've got to get Mordechai in. So she sends him, v'tishlach begadim. She sends him clothing. There's clothing again. Lahalbish at Mordechai. She's like, Mordechai, put on your proper clothing and come inside. Like, what are you doing out there? Put some proper clothing and you come inside and we can start to have some communication over here. What does he say? V'lo kibel, it says. End of verse 4. He didn't accept it. No, I'm not relying on you. I'm relying on Hashem. This is the time for teshuvah. He refused to put on the regular clothing in order to go inside and figure out a plan. I don't accept. He's making a point to her and to everyone else. So Esther finds somebody else to act as an intermediary. And his name in verse 5 is Hatach. Hatach is his name. Who is Hatach? So it's an interesting name. The word Hatach is actually a code name, the Gemara says, for Daniel the prophet. Why is he called Hatach? Well, we have a Jew as an intermediary, so he had to disguise himself somehow and do it very surreptitiously. The word Hatach means lachtoch, is to cut in half. His power was very great beforehand. He was an advisor to Nebuchadnezzar and Darius and Belshazzar, and Cyrus, and now his power had been halved. That's one interpretation of the word Hatach, why that coding was chosen. Another interpretation is he was actually a halachic decider. He was a dream interpreter and a code decoder, and he got Hatach, which means he's able to cut decisions. He was a great man who was able to make great decisions. He was brilliant. Daniel the prophet was one of two people in history who knew the time of Mashiach's arrival. Yaakov and him. That's it. Very, very great, brilliant individual. So Esther chooses him to be the go-to between them. So she sends out using him. She wants to know what happened. Now look at verse, yes, Maya, sorry.
Wait, why was Esther distraught?
Because she heard that Mordechai was mourning, so she knew something very bad had happened. She doesn't know what. She doesn't know what it was. Now, look at verse. There's a very interesting expression here. It's not so easy, this piece. So look inside. It's a bit true. I tried teaching this a few years ago. They couldn't get it. V'taveu al Mordechai, and they commanded on Mordechai, ledat. She wanted to know, mazeh va'al mazeh. Mazeh. What does that mean? Va'al mazeh. What's that? Who talks like that? Like mazeh, va'al mazeh. What is that? So the basic understanding is what's going on, but that's not how you talk. That's not conversational Hebrew, right? Even biblical Hebrew. Mazeh va'al mazeh. Okay. So this actually is a code for no. Mizeh u'mizeh. The luchot. You see, the luchot, the tablets, were written from this side and that side. They could be read both ways. So this is a code word for mizeh u'mizeh, the Torah. So she says to him, mazeh mazeh, what's going on? But which one of the commandments are the Jewish people not doing that led to this to happen to us? This decree to wipe out the Jewish people. Why is this happening? What's going on and why is it happening? Which mitzvah did we give up on that led to this terrible, terrible decree?
Mordechai or Esther?
Esther is asking Mordechai because she doesn't have the information. She's stuck in the palace. Mordechai is the one who's relating the information and knows what's going on because he's got his ear to the ground. So mazeh v'al mazeh is mizeh or mizeh. Which one of the, you understand, the luchot, it's an expression that was used to describe the Ten Commandments that can be read from both sides. Okay, the miraculous aspect to it. By the way, what was the reason of this decree? One answer is the Mishteh. They went to the Su'udah of Achashverosh, Another answer, according to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, is they bowed down to the statue of Nebuchadnezzar many years before that he had erected in gold. Okay, there's two reasons, but mostly it's the, okay. Yeah.
So is that like Mida connected Mida because
Yes.
they bowed down?
Absolutely midah kedeged midah. Absolutely measure for measure. Perfect. He went to Mordechai, Rechov Ha'ir, right? He's out there. He knows what's going on. He's in the middle of the street. And look at this word over here. I should have finished our melech. Vayaged Mordechai et kol asher karahu. Another code word. I know there's a lot of code words here. Karahu. Now, does anyone know what that is a code word for? Nope. Kara. What does kara mean? Makara. Happened. How did it happen? Zakara. What does kara mean? Just happened. This is a code word we see in the Torah to describe Amalek. Amalek, when they came to tax the Jewish people, it says, Karacha baderech. They chanced upon us along the way. They are the people of coincidence. Amalek are known by one trait. Everything is a coincidence. Karacha. Inside the word is also kar. What's kar? Cold. They're the cold nation. So he's basically responding using this code word. I know it's difficult, right? Probably why she used Daniel to do it. To say it's the nation who makes the world cold by removing Hashem. And Rashi on the Torah gives an analogy that the Jewish people, when they left Egypt, they were like a hot ambatia bath. And then Amalek jumped in, they got burned, but they cooled down the waters so that other people could jump in and kill them as well. So Amalek are the Kara people, they make everyone cold, and they operate on coincidence. That's the way it works. So Karahu is basically, I'll tell you what happened, Amalek, Haman, he's trying to kill us. That's the code word that is used right now. Have a great day.